Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Welcome to Money in the Morning, aka Economic Elevation, aka Financial Consciousness. What's going on, everybody? I hope everybody's having a great day. I am feeling good today. I'm actually in downtown Chicago. I had to go down here. Little Tater has a dance competition, so we came down to support her. She's super smart. It's nationals. My wife just reminded me that it's nationals, and nationals is a big deal. The youth sports. There's so much work for everybody, but it's a great experience, and we love her and just think she's amazing, and I'm very proud of her. So I'm just down here. I get to be a dance dad a little bit, anyway, I want to say good morning to Teresa Young and Candace Henderson and all of you that came in this morning. And also, I wanted to ask you all, how many of you have been following SpaceX stock? Has anybody seen? This big gigantic big fat giant company that Elon Musk just put into the market. And if you have, you probably noticed another thing, which is that SpaceX is crashing right now. Stock is going straight to hell in the handbasket. It doesn't mean it's going to keep going to hell. It doesn't mean that it's going to not recover. And I'm sure there are plenty of people that are fully committed to buying the dip. But sometimes you got to remember though that stocks can dip, baby, dip, and keep dipping forever. So I would encourage you to be really careful when dealing with the stock. And in fact, actually, another name for SpaceX probably should have been red flag, because when the company went public, everyone was kind of worried that Elon Musk was pretty much selling wolf tickets. He was selling hopes and dreams, impossible. Investment objectives, at least based on current reality. Now, on one hand, you could say, well, he's such a genius that he has the ability to take things that are not possible and make them possible, and he's done that. He did that with reusable rockets, which is why so many people have faith in him. But at the same time, he's also that genius sometimes can be some might argue that it could be used in a manipulative fashion as well. Most of the investors that they targeted with the SpaceX IPO were what they call retail investors. And retail investors, that's another way of using a term called unqualified investors. Not that you're not qualified to be an investor entirely, but that you're not trained in terms of how assets are valued, what a good stock investment looks like, things like that. And in fact, actually, if you ever think about raising money, be really careful. Make sure you know the law, because there are laws to protect regular investors from people that sort of have a lot of what you call information asymmetry, people that have skill sets that others do not have, right? So I'm not here to say that SpaceX is unconditionally a terrible investment, but I am saying right now that if you bought this sucker at the peak, you've lost a killing, because the stock was at 200 and something dollars. Now it's at 157. You're not supposed to lose 25% of your investment in 1 week. That's not supposed to happen. But if you remember, when SpaceX first came out, I was telling you guys that I don't know what this stock is going to do. I don't know when it's going to do it. All I can tell you is with complete certainty that there are no financial models ever made by any rational mathematician ever, and I've seen a lot of them, that would say that this stock is valued in an appropriate way that makes sense to normal people that live on Earth. Now, if you're a big dreamer, then and we acknowledge that things change, then it might be possible. So in a way, it's kind of like a 10-year-old coming up and saying, I'm going to be the greatest NBA player in the history of the league. And somebody's going to be the greatest player in the history of the NBA, and he might be the best player like in the state or something, right? He might be 6'2" in the eighth grade, but that doesn't mean he's going to be Michael Jordan. Do you know what I mean? So in a way, SpaceX is kind of like that. It's like the kid who says, I was the best eighth grade player in the state, one of the best in the country, and I'm going to be the next Michael Jordan. He might be. He might be. You might be like, well, dude, you won the state championship. You're pretty good. I saw you play. But is he going to be Michael Jordan? Probably not. Does that make sense? Let me know if that analogy makes sense. I like analogies because it kind of helps us kind of sink it in a little bit. It's just they call me the analogy king. I'm not the king of nothing, but I do like analogies, because I don't like to learn things or just memorize things. I like to understand things, and understanding to me is more of it's not just an intellectual exercise. It's a consciousness exercise. It's an emotional exercise. I like to feel it. Like when I would do the math equations, I'd be like, I gotta feel it. I gotta go hug hug the chalkboard and give it a kiss and really connect to the equation. And then I feel it. Then I'm like, okay, now I understand it. It's like Neo in the Matrix. It's like a part of me now. So anyway, with that being said, that's what asset pricing became in terms of how do you price financial assets. It became really a strong connector for me. Anyway, I want to mention my main man David is here. If you want to set up a one-on-one or do a small group consultation, have me meet with your family, have me come speak at your church, whatever it is, you want to get access to a curriculum. Maybe you're doing a homeschool network. Maybe you have a business and you want some sort of inside access. David can help you get that. His number, I'm going to give it to you, write it down, is 313-398-8420, 313-398-8420. And also Chanel actually runs our Winner Circle Mastermind. So if you want some direct support in everything that you're doing, and you want some promotion on your business, or you want to just be part of that inner circle, feel free to click on that link and you can apply for the mastermind. And in fact, speaking of that, one mastermind member named Errol Parker has an investment company, and they're doing really good work. And it's really Errol. He has a business with his son, and I'm really a big fan of the family business. I really encourage you to look into, take your relatives, not your crazy relatives, not the relatives that don't want to do no work, but a lot of us sometimes we're blessed with a good relative who's loyal, who's smart, who wants to do better, who maybe they hear what you have to say. You can build empires with that person. And Errol is building an empire with another Errol who happens to be Errol Jr. And they're doing really well. I don't know how much money they're making, but I know that they look, I said, you look kind of rich. I don't know, but from the hotel you're staying, he came to my birthday party. I said, I don't know how much money you're making, but regular people can't go stay in that hotel and walk the way you walk. So anyway, Errol has an investment firm. And if you want to talk to Errol, he gave me his email address. It's investments at EYPassets.com. And I think EYP must stand for Errol something Parker. His name's Errol Parker. So investments at EYPassets.com. And that's I don't know everything that they do, but I know that they're worth talking to. So feel free to email investments at EYPassets.com and just talk to them and just see what they have going on, because these are super smart people. And I really think that these are the kinds of people that you want to connect with, because this is how people get wealthy. Connection is one of the most important aspects of wealth that's out there. And I would encourage you to really embrace that. And so anyway, with that being said, let me circle back and let me talk a little bit more about SpaceX. And then I want to cover a couple more things today. So basically with SpaceX stock, we talked about this, and there are several concerns that a lot of experts have with SpaceX. They said, this company you're selling this stock for $135. And the most experts that I've seen have said that a lot of them have come to a consensus price estimate in terms of its true value of being about $46. So what you really kind of need is you really need investors to be a little crazy for a while if you don't want to lose all your money, right? Like you're really hoping that they can stay on cloud nine and believe that fairies exist and really live on this cloud that's been created by their fascinating, everlasting love for their Lord and Savior, Elon Musk. Because once they wake up, if something snaps them out of it, if investors suddenly get a little squeamish, maybe the Fed hikes interest rates, maybe the tech stocks start to struggle and wobble a little bit, like Micron is about to announce earnings today, I believe. If some bad news comes out or one of these IPOs goes bad, then guess what? The Cinderella turns into a pumpkin. And I know that it was her carriage that turned into a pumpkin, but this is worse than just the carriage. Cinderella turns into a pumpkin. The whole fairy tale turns into a pumpkin. The whole stock market goes south. Not every stock, though, right? There are some companies that are strong and stable and generate consistent earnings, like, say, a Coca-Cola or a Walmart. Some stocks are made out of fluff. Some stocks, SpaceX is that is an investment in the dreams and visions of Elon Musk. And here's the thing, it's not completely terrible, right? It's, like somebody invested in you before you were able to do anything, right? And your mama did, right? And because your mama did it because she loved you. And if you were lucky, you also had a great father who did the same thing. And even though somehow I think in our community we decided that fathers are not important, which I vehemently disagree with. I think that's part of our challenge in the community is we don't know the value of good fathers. Shout out to all the dads out there. But anyway, you had people that loved you and invested in you, and they invested in you out of faith, right? They were willing to go down with the ship. They had a loyalty to you that was not measurable in dollar amounts. And so the best investor for an Elon Musk company at this stage, in my opinion, is somebody that has a love for Elon that goes beyond dollar amounts. Right. If you're just an investor who's looking to make money, I don't know if SpaceX stock would be for you. It's just it's you're not part of the cult, right? This they should call this members only stock. This stock is made for cult members, people who either just really believe that Elon is an incredible genius, or those who maybe they made money from Elon. I told you I met a black dude who told me he put 99% of his money into SpaceX stock. Or not SpaceX, I'm sorry, Tesla stock. And I remember just sitting next to him, and it was COVID. I had a mask on, and I didn't know if he'd recognize me or not. He did actually. Once I took my mask off, and I was just listening to him with my eyes were like this big, like 99%, huh? Wow. And you know me, I don't tell people what to do. I always tell you, I don't give investing advice. And I also don't tell people who to vote for, even though everybody thinks I'm telling black people to vote for the Republicans. I've never ever said that. I've never said don't vote. I've never said don't vote for the Democrats. I've told you what I do. I've told you what I believe. I've always said get something for your vote, but they twist it. You're not to be doing. You're not to be making stuff up. But anyway, but I don't tell people what to. I just listen, and I was listening, and my eyes were like this big, and he was telling me how he put 99% of his money into Tesla stock. But who am I? How can I, as a 50-year-old man, talk to a 31-year-old man who has a ton of confidence? And the reason he had a ton of confidence was because he had a ton of money. This kid had literally, I think he made $2 or $3 million on Tesla stock, right? So here's the thing, right? It's not a matter of always being wrong, right? Just it's like basketball. Just because you took a good shot, that doesn't mean it's going to go in, and just because you took a bad shot doesn't mean you're going to miss. But there's definitely a definition of good shots and bad shots, right? And a good shot is a good shot whether it goes in or not, right? A good shot is when you square up with the basket. I remember because I was short. I keep fantasizing that one day I'm gonna wake up and I'm gonna be 6'3", but it hasn't happened yet. And I used to play basketball a lot, and I used to be really sad because I wasn't tall. I couldn't do what the tall guys do. And I could jump and I had long arms, but I wasn't very tall. But I wanted to help the team. So I was like, what job could I do where I could help the team? So you know what I did? Here's what I did. I promise you, this is the 25-year-old voice. I said, I'm going to become an excellent three-point shooter. That's what I'm going to do. So you know what I did? I read in a book because I believe if you want to get good at something, you study it, right? Relationships, study it. Raising kids, go study it, right? So I read books on how to shoot a good jump shot. And here's what I learned. I learned you got to have your hips straight. You got to square up with the basket. You got to make sure you jump, and you got to have muscle memory. So you got to do it the same way every time. And you got to keep your elbow in, because if your elbow's out, you're going to shoot all crazy like Latrell Sprewell did. He messed up Allen Houston's whole career with his crazy ass. Anyway, you got to pull your elbow in, and your wrist straight, and you follow through, and your arm tells ball where to go. Does that make sense? Right? You're drawing, like I would in my mind imagine my arm being long enough to have a direct connection to the basket. And let me tell you what happened. You know what happened? I became the greatest three-point shooter I've ever seen in my life. I'm telling you, Steph Curry ain't got nothing. I can hit 25 three-pointers in a row. I used to be able to hit three-pointers with my eyes closed. Literally, I close my eyes and just see. I wonder if I could shoot. It was like that, right? And so I was pretty dominant. It was kind of wild. But anyway, so here's the point. I knew what a good shot was. Right? I knew what a good shot was. But just because you take a good shot doesn't mean it's going to go in. I would probably hit 60% of my three pointers, 55%, something like that, because they wouldn't guard me. They didn't guard me at the half court line. They didn't know I could jack it up from half court, and still, it was great. Anyway, I felt very tall in that moment, but that's what little guys, that's what we do. They call it a Napoleon complex. That's probably what it was. Anyway, so this ain't about basketball, boys. We're talking about finances. All right. So circling back, investing is a little bit like that, right? Where I knew, in basketball, you know what a good shot is, and I knew when it was a bad shot, right? And whether it went in or not did not have anything to do with whether it was a good shot or a bad shot. Some people make that mistake. They call that in economics, they call that ex post versus ex ante. Ex ante is before the fact. It's when you don't know what the outcome is going to be. It's like, it's like when they say garbage in, garbage out. It's like I don't know. I can't hit every single shot. I'm not going to hit every single shot. Michael Jordan missed thousands of shots. but he knew to take as many good shots as possible. And he knew based on probability that if he took more good shots than bad ones, he was going to hit more than he missed. Does that make sense? Right. So investing is the same way. You don't know what a good investment really is at what they call ex post. Ex post is after it's over. You don't know. Like you didn't know Nvidia was going to go up 1,000%. You didn't know. I mean, my God, I wish I'd known what Marvell was going to do. I wish I'd known oh my God, Micron. I'm mad about Micron. I told you all about Micron at the start of the year. Remember, I said Micron's my favorite investment for 2026. Micron went up 20%. I sold. I said, okay, that's good. Way to go, boys. Woohoo! We won a championship. Did not look like a sucker when that stock tripled. And that stock went up probably 200 or 300%. It's crazy, right? But you don't know that. You can't predict these things. You can't predict these things. And the thing I want you to understand, and I want to say this before your cousin that works in the barbershop decides he has a PhD too and wants to give you stock market advice. No disrespect to barbers, because that's a hell of a skill. But it's not the same as like what I do. Like you do what you do. If I try to go line up people's fades, I'm gonna have people coming out there looking crazy. So when you're in the barbershop giving investment advice, you have people coming out there looking crazy, right? So you stick to your lane, I'm gonna stick to mine, okay? Anyway, so I'm kidding though, but I want to say this before anybody else tells you a lie. People can't predict what a stock is going to do. You can't do that. They've done lots of research on this. They've written tons of research papers about this. There's 1,000 research papers written that prove the singular idea that stocks follow what is called a random walk. It's called a random walk hypothesis. Burton Malkiel wrote a book called Random Walk Down Wall Street in 1971. That was when he trained monkeys on how to invest. And the monkey story is what ends up frustrating me about stock market investing. How so many people are scared of the stock market because they think they have to know everything. They think they have to know which stock is going to go up, which one's going to go down, which is really unknowable. When all you got to know how to do is make sure you're putting your money in there and make sure you're putting your money in good companies, S&P 500 companies to be exact. If you're consistently putting your money in S&P 500 companies over a long period of time, you will become wealthy. You will have more money. This is not hard. Sometimes I wish I envy rappers because I wish I had the power of a rapper to convince people to do what I tell them to do. Because if a rapper says everybody go, get high, everybody will go get high. If a rapper says let's go kill some black people, next thing you know, you got YNs going around killing black people. When rappers say let's pop a bottle of Ciroc, black people are drinking Ciroc. Well, I'd like to be a rapper because I'd like to say, everybody let's go mob the S&P 500, right? Let's go and do a takeover of the S&P. Let's make sure that we put our money in the stock market first. Because that's an equalizer. The stock market has created more black millionaires than any Democrat or Republican ever could. The stock market has created black millionaires, white millionaires, green millionaires, because it doesn't care what race you are. It just gives you the money because you've chosen to be an owner. So it's a culture, it's a decision. And so really, and when I have talked to rappers, and I've interacted with quite a few people in hip hop, from Kanye to Russell Simmons, Ice Cube, and a few other people. And one of the things I really want to do is I want to say, come on, man, like let's get everybody in the stock market, because the stock market is the number one wealth creator in the history of the world. Let's eliminate all the obstacles that make us afraid, all the obstacles that make us think we can't do it. Let's get rid of all the obstacles that make us think it's only for white people. Let's get rid of all the obstacles that keep us distracted. It's every study that I've seen shows that black people love to consume. We love to buy stuff. We're really extraordinary when it comes to wasting money. Like, we're really amazing at that. Like, what they'll say is they'll say, wow, black people are only 13% of the population. They spend 20% of they engage in 20% of the spending on hair and beauty products or whatever it is, right? And it's interesting because when you look at wealth, there's these really weird negative gaps where it's like white people are here, black people are way down. But when it comes to like spending, you'll see white people will be here, black people will be right with them. Like, we go neck and neck when it comes to spending, but I want us to go neck and neck when it comes to investing. Do you understand? So I'm less concerned. Pay attention. Let me know if you get what I'm saying here. I'm going to make this point. It's very important. That's why I'm taking my time to say this. I'm less concerned with the fact that you spend money. I'm not here to tell you not to spend money. My biggest concern is that you're not investing as well. You understand? You can have nice stuff. I'm never going to tell you that you can't have nice stuff, but let your investments pay for nice stuff. Let your assets pay for nice stuff. But in order for your assets to pay for nice stuff, then you need to own some assets. Because until you own an asset, then you are the asset. And then your asset becomes your body, it becomes your free time, it becomes your energy. And then you have to rent it out and sell it to people who are going to actually get more of a return on investment than you are from your asset. So it's like think of wealth like traveling to a city. Like we want to go to the land of wealthy people, like the Wizard of Oz, right? We're off to meet the wizard, the wonderful Wizard of Oz, or better yet, ease on down the road. So we're trying to go to Oz, which is land of wealth. And let's say that you got some people who get in a car and they drive, or they get in an airplane and they fly, right? And the people that fly get there fast. The people that drive, they get there eventually. The people that have helicopters, they get there, but not quite as fast as the jet, but pretty fast. Even people that have bikes can move. But then you have another person who's walking. And let's say it's 1,000 miles away and they're exhausted and they're dying on the side of the road, trying to walk through Death Valley and stuff like that. In fact, there's a guy named Humbles in Philly who's trying to walk from Philly to LA. I'm worried about him. He's in Kansas now. I have a lot of respect for his determination, but I'm really wondering what's going to happen when he hits that desert area. I hope that he's got some people there to back him up and make sure he's hydrated because I can worry about that. But anyway, with that being said, though, imagine that. So imagine wealth is a destination. That's what it really is. It's a destination because every equation, as a mathematician, I can tell you with complete certainty that every equation that you use to describe distance, like how far a person goes, like okay, you drive 50 miles an hour, you drive for 10 hours, you go 500 miles, 50 times 10. The wealth equation is the same thing, actually. It looks different, but you can break it down and it's literally the exact same equation, except instead of distance, it's money, right? So ultimately, when you talk about that, I want you to process it like this. Let's say that I go to the person who's walking down the road, and let's say that they're walking and they also don't have a map, so they're walking in different directions. They don't know which way to go, and they're on foot. And then I say, well, hey, man, you're never going to get to the destination of wealth doing it this way. And imagine if the person says, imagine if they say something like, well, what do you mean? Like, you mean I shouldn't be traveling? Like I'm traveling. I'm working harder than everybody else. I'm doing more than everybody else. Why shouldn't I be wealthy too? Right. And it's not that they're trying to get to the destination. It's not that they're walking. The movement is not the issue. It's how you're moving. Right. It's sort of the tools you're using to engage in this thing. And I would say to him, no, it's okay. You should be on this road, but you're dying on the side of the road because you're trying to do something that isn't quite possible, right? The reason everyone else is getting there and you're not getting there is twofold. One, they have a vehicle, and two, they have a map. You follow what I'm saying? Give me a yes in the chat. I know I'm talking all over the place. Give me a yes in the chat to let me know you're following that analogy. The difference between the guy who's walking, who dies on the side of the road in Death Valley from dehydration, and the person who got there in a jet airplane is twofold. One, he had a GPS, and two, he had a vehicle. That's really it. Whereas the guy on foot, let's say somebody told him, "Hey man, but on your way to the land of wealth, you got to stop by the liquor store, and then we're gonna walk down to the Everglades, and then I want you to walk up to New Hampshire. Then you got to walk back down to Texas, and then you got to walk in circles 55 times, right? And you're walking the whole time, and you're like distracted the entire time. That's a visual that you should see when you compare that to the hardworking person who is not the wealth builder versus the person who works less hard, who is the wealth builder. Do you understand? One person has a vehicle, the other one's on foot. If you are a worker and you are not participating in the stock market or real estate market, or you don't own a business, then you are on foot. So everybody's goal, really, if you want to know what the next assignment has to be, do one of those three things, or all three if you're into it. All three of those things, if you can. Get you some property, get you some stock, start a business. The easiest thing for you to do is get some stock. We do Stock Market Tuesday every Tuesday. If you want to join our stock market club, just go to drboycestockmarket.com. There's a discount on the page, drboycestockmarket.com. We meet today, actually, and I even tell you what stocks I like, if that makes you feel better. Okay. So the thing about it is, spending money is not really the big issue. So let's say that the person says, well, maybe the reason I'm not getting to my destination is because I'm distracted. I want to go to the liquor store. I wanted to stop in the Everglades. I wanted to go to New Hampshire. That's not so much the problem. I mean, it's a problem only because if you're walking, You're wasting a lot of time. It takes you a long time to get to the Everglades. It takes you a long time to get to the liquor store. It takes you a long time to get to New Hampshire because you're walking. But imagine if the person had a jet airplane and assets, and they said, "No, no, I want to go to California, before I want to stop in the Everglades or go to Miami Beach. Then I want to fly to Dallas, and then I want to fly to Wyoming and hang out for a couple of days, and then I'm gonna fly to California." Could they do that? If they own an airplane? You absolutely can. You absolutely can. There's nothing wrong with that. So it's not that you're stopping at these other destinations. See, a lot of people will say something like, "Well, the reason you ain't got no wealth is because you buy coffee and because I saw you buying new shoes and look at your car." I mean, no, that's getting you to stop buying nice stuff is not as efficient as simply teaching you ways to make more money. If you got more money, you can buy nice stuff. Stop. Don't ever let anybody tell you you can't have nice stuff. In fact, I believe that the more sacrifices you make, the more you should reward yourself because then you're engaging. The psychologist will tell you this. This is why we created the first ever Black financial therapy department in the Black Business School. My wife is a therapist. You know this. Yeah, to me, the more you sacrifice, the more you should reward yourself because also the other thing is the reward can become part of the motivation. Right? You work harder in your business because you know then you're going to raise that $10,000 and take a really nice vacation. Right? You sacrifice and put your money in the stock market so because you know you're positioned such that if the stock market goes on a tear and suddenly you make an extra $8,000, you can go get that new Cadillac or whatever it is you want to get. I want you to be happy because that's part of the equation too. Do you understand? I'm not here to do wealth as if money is your destination. Money is not your destination because there's a lot of miserable people that have lots of money. Your destination is happiness. Do you understand? And money can be a vehicle to help you get there, but happiness requires so much more than just money. There's a lot of unhappy people with money. Money can help, though. Money can help. If people say money can't buy happiness, I don't know. I think being broke can buy you some unhappiness. So money though is a tool to get to the happiness, but to really use the tool properly, you got to be trained on what the tool can do for you and what it can't do for you. Right? How many sacrifices are you willing to make to achieve the tool? I spent time this weekend at my birthday party. Cinda Williams came and sang at my party, and she's a wonderful lady. She was in the movie Mo Better Blues, and she sang Harlem Blues, one of my favorite songs of all time. Cinda's the coolest lady ever. She came to our house and hung out and stuff, and she talked a lot about experiences she had in Hollywood and the horrible, 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 dangerous sacrifices she saw people make. And I use that word sacrifices literally sometimes. You get into that crazy Epstein type stuff. The sacrifices people made to allegedly live out their dream, right? Their dream of being rich and famous. And also we even talked about how people think that the words rich and famous automatically go together. And she says, "Yeah, I was on Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous." She says, "I wasn't rich." And I love Cinda because she's so honest. She's like, "I was famous, but I wasn't rich." People think that when you're famous, you're rich. That's not true, right? So that requires some degree of economic understanding. It requires some degree of consciousness. It requires standards, morals, boundaries, whatever your ethical limitations are, whatever works for you, culture, grounding, all these things. So you can still go out and have these wonderful experiences when it comes to money and power and fame. But the grounding part is essential because if you don't have that, then you're gonna think you received the blessing, but really your blessing might have come from the devil. Like D1 always says, the devil can bless you too. And then you'd be like, the rapper who rapped about murdering as many black people as possible gets up there and he's thanking God for his Grammy. And D1's like, "No, God didn't give you that Grammy. Satan gave you that Grammy. You're thanking the wrong person." Right? You're giving false attribution because God did not do that. The devil did that. Right? So anyway, let me move on. And before I move on, I want to mention we're doing a stock market investor summit this weekend. If you're part of the investor club, stock market investor club, you can join for free. If you're not, here's a link where you can just see what we're going to cover. And the goal really is to dig into the basics so that you can become a confident investor. So I'm putting the link in the chat if you guys want to take a look. and participate. It's going to be Saturday and Sunday, the 27th and 28th. I'm going to be down at the Miss Corporate America pageant, hosted by Tiana Von Johnson during that time. But I decided I want to take some time away to meet you all in a private Zoom, and we're going to spend 4 hours each day with me breaking down for you specifically and exactly how to get started with investing, how to invest at the level that you want to, that kind of thing. So feel free to grab that link. But remember, if you're a member of the Stock Market Investors Club, you get in for free. If you're a Prime member, you get in for free. Prime is our options class, which is drboyceprime.com, and our stock market class is drboycestockmarket.com. All right, so let's do a little quick field trip to Instagram. I want to show you all some stuff real quick. Give me a second here. Let me click the button. All right, here's something that I was thinking about in terms of cause and effect. I put this up. Let me know if you can see this. Give me a yes if you can see this on my screen. And it made me think about the fact that sometimes, from a consciousness standpoint, we don't always sort of connect the dots, right? Because we're so raised to believe that we're just victims of everything all the time from everybody. I think sometimes we forget that our actions have consequences, whether we do something or don't do something. There's always going to be a consequence to that. So this made me think about young people who are struggling, right? So you got a young guy, let's say he's Gen Z, he's in debt, he can't pay his bills, his rent's due, he's overdrafting his bank account, and everybody asks, like, well, what happened? Why won't Tyrone get it together? Why is he messing up? Well, he's probably messing up because nobody loved him enough to take the time to make sure he understood wealth. Right? This black man goes out into this world where don't nobody really love him like that, where people, like, he's got predators and problems and traps set for him all throughout society, and you didn't invest for him, and you didn't teach him how to manage money when he got to a certain age. So you see a lot of times, even with NBA athletes, it's shocking. NBA athletes are just blow my mind when I hear about guys blowing through $100 million. But then I start thinking, this is me going back to, me, I'm an old school Southern black male. And I think fathers really matter quite a lot more than we think. And it lets me know, okay, I get it. You didn't have any mentors. You didn't have anybody to slap you upside the head like I did to say, hey, what are you doing? Like, this is stupid. Like, no, don't do this, son. You're going to mess your life up, right? Or even Shaquille O'Neal's mother, he had a strong father as well. And they're part of the reason Shaq is going to probably be a billionaire by the time he's done, because when Shaquille O'Neal came into the NBA, he spent a bunch of money. His mother said, "No, I'm gonna grab a few million. We're gonna put it over here. The rest you can go have fun. But until that time, until you get older, this money's gonna be sitting over here. We're gonna let it grow." Right. And so the deal is, what I liked about that is it still allowed him to splurge. It still allowed him to ball out, have fun. He didn't have to be a miser. He didn't have to do anything weird like buy a $3,000 car and be the NBA player making millions of dollars, driving in a hoopty. You make millions of dollars, get you a nice car, get you a nice place to live, but also invest first. That's it. And that's what he did. And that's how Shaq became incredibly wealthy. Guys like him and Michael Jordan, they make far more money now than they ever made playing basketball. And it's really up to us. Remember, these are our kids. This is our community. It is our responsibility to get them ready. When they are not prepared, it is our fault. I'm 100% into the idea of us looking at ourselves and saying, what is it that we need to do to make sure our kids are ready? Those are your children. When they show up in the world dusty and rusty and unprepared, then that's when we have to look at each other and look at ourselves and say, well, what were you doing? Right? Remember, don't forget that. Let me give I think, what's the number? I think it takes 157,680 hours to raise a child to the age of 18. Let me see. There's 8,760 hours in a year times 18. Yeah, 157,680 hours that you have that child from the time they're 0 to 18. It probably would take you less than 5 hours to teach them how to become a good enough investor to build wealth. Probably, maybe even if you gave me 30 minutes, I could explain it to them in 30 minutes, actually. No, make that 5 minutes because I'm good at this. But then maybe to teach them how to start a business, maybe it'll took 20 hours or something, right? And maybe to show them how to buy real estate, maybe it took another 20 hours, and then another 20 hours of practice or whatever. So the question is, out of this 157,680 hours that this child was in your custody, how much of that time was spent teaching him? How much of that time was spent preparing him? How much of that time was spent showing him how to invest? Because here's the thing. White folks are going to prepare your son to get that job. They're going to train him how to go in that factory and run the machines in the factory so they can make money for somebody else. Because he's not going to let you come in there untrained and unprepared, right? White folks, in fact, they're also training your son for the NFL and the NBA. That's why they build little camps all around the country. Anybody seen? Let me know if you've seen how many little football and basketball camps there are all across the country. How many systems there are in place to make sure your child is trained to be the next LeBron or the next Bo Jackson or the next whatever, right? I want you to think about the other training. How much training do they get on how to be a YN, right? A YN is a young nigga. That's what they call it. I'm not going to use that anymore, but that's what it is, right? How much training does he get through the media? How many thousands of hours of hip hop music and content must he absorb in his subconscious mind repeatedly over and over and over again to the point where he's fully indoctrinated into YN culture? He knows how to dress, he knows how to walk, he knows how to speak, right? He knows what actions he's supposed to commit to be part of that culture, right? So the question becomes, that is your child. So why did you hand your child over to the devil like that? Why did you abandon him and say, I'll go ahead and be a YN, go ahead and be an athlete, go ahead and get training on how to be an employee, but I'm not going to train you on how to represent this family. I'm not going to train you on how to be a winner. I'm not going to train you on how to be wealthy. I'm not going to prepare you for battle, because that's what it is. Economics is warfare. Economics is war. We talked about this. I'm going to send you to war with no protection, no armor, no shield, no training, no strategy, no nothing. And then I wonder why you're failing. Well, part of the reason that you're failing, remember, it takes a village to destroy a child. It takes a village to destroy a child. It takes a village to raise the bar. It takes a village to raise the child. It takes a village to love a child, but it also takes a village to destroy a child. So it's probably not just his fault. It takes coordination from society, the school system, media, you, me. We're off busy at work, right? While our son is being trained on how to be a YN or whatever it is that he becomes, or maybe to be a failure, maybe to struggle in life. Right. So I would say to you that one of the most it's critical things about investing. I'm about to drop something on you that I want you to consider when it comes to investing. Stop thinking that investing is just about money. I think that the same way I see Trump or Elon Musk invest billions of dollars into their community, I think we can invest billions of dollars into our community, but it's not going to show up in the terms of money. My personal investment in the community is that anytime I run across a young person anywhere at any moment who wants my guidance as a father figure, I jump right in and say, I'll do the job. What you need? How can I help you? What knowledge you need? What game do you need? What information can I share with you that will help you in this journey? That's me investing in you, because I know that I've got $1 billion brain. I like to believe I'm humble enough, but believe me, my humility has nothing to do with my confidence level. I'm extremely confident that I've got $1 billion worth of understanding of economics. I know what the billionaires and millionaires know. I know how these systems work. So what can I share with you? Plus, I'm 54 and I've been Black my whole life. So what can I tell you that will help you to overcome all the bullshit that you're going to run into in this society that pretty much wants to see you dead? That's my investment. And I would say, I would hope to get you to consider making a similar investment. And then the hard part about it too is that not everybody's on the same page. You got some Black people who don't get it, some Black people who don't care, some Black people who are stuck on believing that we're supposed to be victims, we're supposed to lose. Some people that don't care about kids. If it's not, when I married my wife had 3 children. I didn't know that there were going to be like all these guys that were going to start calling me a simp for marrying a woman with kids. I didn't even know these men existed, and they were suddenly simp. I was like, wait, I'm a simp now? Wait, how did that happen? And apparently, it's like this whole culture, this whole counterculture that says if you're a man and you care about a child that's not yours, then something is wrong with you. I don't identify with men who think that way. I don't hate you. I'm not mad at you. I'm not talking bad about you. I'm not judging your decisions. But I didn't come from that, because I would not, if it wasn't for men stepping in and caring about me when they didn't have to, I wouldn't be who I am right now. I wouldn't be who I am right now if it wasn't for Larry Watkins pretty much sacrificing his whole life to raise me. I've told you that story. I paid off his house as a thank you. I was like, man, thank you. I didn't know until I was in my 20s and 30s how many options you had. You could have been out smoking dope, having girlfriends, living your best life, but you came home to me and I was another man's kid. That's amazing. Right. I wouldn't be who I am if it wasn't for Dr. Tommy Whitler taking me under his wing when I had never met a black professor before. W.C. Benton was a guy. He's got an old guy. He was 50, he was probably about 60 years old eating cheeseburgers with his big self, but he was an old Marine and he was a badass scholar and he wasn't no punk. And when those folks at Ohio State, let me just tell you, I almost didn't get through my PhD program because it's so political and I didn't know it. I thought it was about how smart you are and you making good grades. No, it's very political. They were trying to string me up. When I tell you they did, it was like that movie Rosewood when Bing Rames when they had the rope around his neck and he was able to like escape at the last minute. Like I was like that. They were trying to string me up. It was bad. And W.C. Benton came in there like a soldier and he went there and he just kicked the tables over like Jesus and said, if you mess with Boyce, you're messing with me. And that man did not have to do any of those things for me. None of that. He did it because he cared, and I appreciated that. And I remember he sat me down. I remember him saying to me, he said, when I was in the Marines, they taught us that even if, and this really hit me to the core. It helped me understand what it means, what the battle that we're in. And he said, Boyce, when I was in the Marines, they told us that even if you are surrounded and you know you're gonna die, you fire your gun until every single bullet is out of that gun. And I took that to heart. I was taking notes, like, okay, I got you. So that's how I operate as a human being and as a scholar. I don't know if I'm gonna win. I don't even care sometimes, but just know if you want to fight to the death, you want to come with that white supremacist stuff, you're not going to win the battle through intimidation. That's for sure. You're going to have to kill me. You're going to have to finish me off to delete me. And even when you delete me, it won't work now because now I've talked to millions of people. So the energy is already out there. The revolution has started. It's already, it's already happened. Y'all don't even need me no more, right? So the point of the matter is to say that I think that our number one variable when it comes to us really winning the wealth game is we got to have the attitude that says we're not going to lose. We are going to fight. We're going to defend the babies. We're going to, if you're my brother and I'm your brother, then your kids are my niece and my nephew, right? And we're going to fight for the nephews and nieces out here that don't have parents that give a damn. That's okay. You are the talented 10th. That's what I really truly believe. You're the talented 10th. The talented 10th are the people that are the top 10% in terms of being the most committed. And if you got a good 10%, you don't really need everybody else, honestly. You really don't. You really don't need everybody on the same page. I'm not good with those movements where they say if we get every single black person to do blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I've never seen anything in my life that every single black person was committed to doing. But it's okay. You give me a few solid men and a few solid women. Oh, I can take over the world with that. Right. So anyway, let me go back and let me show you something else. Let's go back to Instagram because I'm just getting all riled up and doing all this yelling. And I want to remind you all, I'm going to do a deep dive soon on how to invest in the space industry. I do have a lot of investments in space, and you guys were requesting that. So we're going to do a walkthrough of pretty much the entire space economy and all the different ways you can invest in that. And I'm really invested heavily in space. SpaceX, I don't own yet. I may buy it soon, and maybe sell options on the stock or something to reduce my risk. But for the most part, there's so many other ways to invest in space. The space economy is coming. It may not be through SpaceX though, right? But it's coming. It's coming. It's going to be powerful. It's going to create avenues that don't exist yet. So the deep dive link is right there. If you're a member of the deep dives group, then you don't have to, pay a fee. But we charge a small fee for things just because we're building an institution, the Black Business School. And by the way, there's 300,000 students in the school now. I personally believe that we got the coolest HBCU ever because we focus specifically on the Black community and wealth building in the Black community. And the other thing too that I think makes us unique is I like to look at real clear, tangible, measurable results, right? Like we measure whether or not your wealth is actually going up. We measure whether or not your families are actually stronger. We measure whether or not your mental and physical health actually get better, which connects to wealth, right? So it's more of a holistic approach where you're talking about healing the financial by healing the human being, but also healing the human being as a pathway to also healing the family, which heals the community, right? So, for example, if you come to the All Black National Convention, you'll see all age groups. You'll see everybody from 3-year-olds to teenagers to college kids to Gen Zs, millennials, boomers, Gen Xers, senior citizens, because everybody contributes to the ecosystem. And that's how you want to view your wealth, right? Grandma, just because you're 80 years old don't mean you can't contribute. You've probably got the most important job in the house. And I want you to understand that. Don't think of it as, well, I'm 80. Am I too old to build wealth? No, you're not too old, because you got grandkids that are 3. And your journey, your part of your journey is coming to an end. Who knows what happens after we move on? But really, their journey is just beginning, and their journey is going to be heavily impacted by how you end your journey. Do you understand? The way you finish is going to determine how they start. Right? Like, so grandma is determined. Grandma says, "Oh, I'm gonna make sure the babies have money in the stock market. I'm gonna make sure that the babies get, get investments right now and consistently from my estate plan or whatever I can do, even if it's nickels and pennies. That's okay." Because what happens is they have a superpower that is incredibly valuable, and that superpower is called time. You understand? They have time. The 3-year-old has 22 years before he's 25 years old. Do you know how much wealth can be built in 22 years with small and tiny investments? Like, it's insane. I keep bringing it up because it seems nobody believes me. Everybody thinks it's like, oh, this is all made up. This ain't true. No, this is math, people. This is what the math says. Let me show you. I put a post on Instagram. Made a song about it. You want to hear it? Here it goes. All right, so here, let me see if I can show you. Let me see if I got it here. No, well, this kind of does it, but this isn't exactly what I'm looking for. But this captures enough of the gist. Um, Let me show you. It's right here. My Instagram is Dr. Boyce Finance. Yeah, if you invest $500 a month in the S&P 500, even if you have no stock picking ability and you randomly pick stocks, if you do that at 25, you'll have 1.7 million by the age of 65. And that is when people think they're starting early. But here's the thing: you're not starting early if you start investing at 25. That's what everyone else will say. That's what they'll say in the textbooks. No, you're starting early if you start early. And that means you could start investing at the age of 0. You could start investing at the age of -10. If you think of wealth as a family objective instead of thinking of it as an individual objective. See, that's the secret. That's the secret sauce. This is the part that, for whatever reason, is not really in a lot of textbooks. But again, as a PhD, we don't read textbooks. We write them. We read some, but we write them. When I look at the fundamentals of where wealth comes from, I said, well, why in the hell are we talking about starting at 25? What happened before you were 25? Remember, there's 157,680 hours that happen between the age of 0 and 18. So why is that time not being used to build wealth? So again, and you can go to 0 years old and have a newborn baby, and they're going to have a 25-year head start, right? Which means by the time they're 25, they've already got $500,000, $600,000, $700,000. Why? Because grandma, who was 80 when the baby was 3, started the process of investing for them while they were little. It's like food. Like, imagine if the only way you could eat food is if you cooked for yourself. A lot of us would starve. I would starve. My wife cooks for me, and she cooks much better than I do. If I cook for the whole family, everybody would be dead. I don't. I can boil water and stuff. I know how to throw things in the microwave. I can't cook. So think about it. We cook for each other. Why are we not investing for each other? Do you understand? This is deep. I see Mario says the millionaire next door. I think it's deeper than the millionaire next door. This is the billionaire next door. This is the $1 million family next door, right? Because even the millionaire next door doesn't go into these principles. So here's your plan. Here's how your kids are going to conquer. And I shared this with the guys in my birthday party when we were on this boat. And a lot of these guys were like 22, 23 years old. And we were talking about long-term financial plans. And I was just telling them what I know. And I said, well, you're going to have kids one day, right? And they say, yeah. I said, okay, so you're 22. What you're going to have, maybe you'll have a kid when you're 32. I said, what you got to understand is that your unborn children will be heavily impacted by the choices you make right now, the investments you make right now. I'm challenging you to raise the damn standard. One thing that drives me crazy is, well, we act like the goal of Black people is to simply survive. To hell with that. You're better than that. Don't survive. You're supposed to thrive. You're supposed to win. You're supposed to be excellent. So I told them, I said, I don't, the struggle talk, that's for losers. Like, we're not doing the struggle talk. I said, here's what I want you to do. I want you to go study. I said, have you heard of the PayPal Mafia? And they're like, no, who's that? I said, the PayPal Mafia was a group of white boys with Elon Musk and a group of other guys who got together in their 20s, and they weren't sitting around looking for jobs. They weren't just hanging out trying to stay out of jail. They weren't just trying to survive. They were building companies in their 20s, working relentlessly to build companies and build massive amounts of wealth. And I said, you know what happened with the PayPal Mafia? They all became billionaires. They all became billionaires. So, and one of them is a trillionaire. One of them became the first trillionaire. And what happened is that that when one of them became a trillionaire, because he's part of the ecosystem, now they have an easy time becoming billionaires. When they want to raise money for, a $5 billion acquisition, all they got to do is text each other. And Peter Thiel says, hey, yo, Elon, I want to go buy NBC. You want to throw $500 million in? Sure, dude. Yeah. Okay. And then he texts Reid Hoffman, the founder of LinkedIn. How many y'all on LinkedIn? Any LinkedIn Negroes on here? I'm playing. I'm not making. I'm a LinkedIn Negro myself. But yeah, LinkedIn. Reid Hoffman founded LinkedIn, and he says, "Hey, Reid, are you in for $100 million? Sure, dude. Right? Max Levchin, co-founder of PayPal, founder of Affirm. I don't know how much Affirm is worth, but I know I own $100,000 worth of Affirm stock. And they say, hey, yo, Max, we're about to go take over NBC. You in for 150 million? Sure. David Sachs. Anybody, you might know David Sachs's name. He's sitting right next to the president of the United States. He runs all of the crypto of under Trump. So he's a billionaire. And I can just keep going. So my point is not to glorify these individuals or say that they're better than anybody. In fact, I bring them up not because they're better than us, but because we're better than them. That's how clear I want to be on that. I think we're better than them. And the difference is, I think it's a confidence thing. Because if you're really confident and have faith and commitment to what you want to do, you're not going to waste a lot of energy wondering if you're good enough or worrying about what people say or what people don't want you to accomplish or how much the odds are stacked against you. Of course, they're stacked against you. My God, you're trying to become a millionaire. Ain't nobody ever said that that's easy, right? There's gonna be hurdles and obstacles. And if you watch a hurdler, there was a college kid who broke the world record at the NCAA Nationals, which they need to start testing him for drugs because I don't know, that's kind of crazy. But he broke the world record. And if you watch him go over the hurdles, he's focused. He's intense. He's not looking around saying, well, I don't know, man, people be hating on me. They don't really want me running hurdles and they just be trying to keep me down. He was running, he was focused on getting the damn job done. So PayPal Mafia, I thought was interesting because if you look at the companies that were founded in the PayPal Mafia, it's crazy. Facebook, LinkedIn, Tesla, SpaceX, Palantir, YouTube. YouTube came out of the PayPal Mafia. Let me mention that here. Yelp, Affirm, Yammer, and some other multi-billion-dollar companies. And so the goal is, again, message for your son, your daughter, and any person that's connected to a young person is, or really anybody, is find your network, find your group, find your people. And just focus on relentlessly building with those people. Focus on business development. Have some family business meetings that you'd be amazed at how far that goes. You'd be amazed how far that goes when you're not burning all your energy complaining about how oppressed you are. Yeah, of course. Okay, yeah, they don't want to see you win. Okay, we got that out of the way. Now I want you to go win. Make sense? Make sense? All right, great. All right, so let's go back to Instagram again. I feel like I was a little too. I was doing too much yelling today, and I need to stop that. That's kind of mean. So let me show you all. There were a few. I'll show you a few pictures from the party. Not much, not enough to bore you, but just enough to kind of let you know that we did have some fun. And then I'm also going to show you something else that relates to wealth that I thought was pretty cool. And what was great is Dr. George Fraser and some other people were there. So I saw people literally building businesses and making investment decisions and coming up with investment ideas together at the party. So that was kind of cool. So.
Boy, don't play around, got plenty time, got plenty room in this car. Boy, I mess around, but I tell you now that I pray, homie, go far. Boy, I pray, homie, go real. Boy, I pray, homie, it's real. Boy, I take shots from left field. I don't mess around with left field. Boy,
A lot of dancing. This is Cinda Williams singing my favorite song, one of my favorite songs, Harlem Blues. That's Cinda right there, next to Denzel and Spike Lee, and she sang Harlem Blues, and I was so excited about that. She's such a wonderful lady. And what else? Oh, and this is something that I shared on Instagram about reparations. We could talk about this a little bit later, but I was talking to a guy named Hazik, who works with Nove Financial, and he was on the trip with me, and I said, there was a scholar who said that if Black people get reparations, they should get $400,000 apiece. And he and I kind of laughed about that. And I said, what do you think would happen if they gave every single Black person $400,000? Like, what would that look like? And of course, a lot of us would, do the right thing, invest and all this other stuff. But then we know the shenanigans that would happen, right? You would just literally see people like buying pet elephants and right, arriving to prom on a nuclear powered submarine and just doing all kinds of like ridiculous stuff, right? And so what Hazik threw out there that I thought was really a great idea was he said maybe ownership would be a better form of reparations. I said actually that would be true if you help enough people become owners of assets, own particularly real estate and stocks, then that actually would have a greater impact on the finances of Black people than reparations actually would. Because whatever reparations that the government comes up with is probably not going to be adequate. It's going to be probably maybe 2% of what was actually owed, and people will be happy with that because we set our standard pretty low. We don't really fight for what we deserve, in my opinion. And instead, if we were able to convince, say, 80% of all Black people to get a home by any means necessary, and 90% of all people to put some money in the stock market and do that consistently, do it like you pay a bill. Everybody, 100% of us know how to pay bills. So I think that means at least 90% of us can invest in ourselves, right? Does that make sense? It's logical, right? It's the same amount of money, not much more. And if you did that, that would actually have a greater impact on the wealth level of the Black community than a reparations check from the government. And then also, if there's not preparation and training on what to do with money, how to keep money, how to protect money, then it's not going to really matter at all anyway. All right. So one more thing I wanted to show you. I'm just going to fast forward to this one because I want to show you this. And so let me see it here. Okay. So and I'll just get if you. Uh-oh. Hold on. Sorry. Let me turn this off. Okay, so if you want to see more pictures from the party, of course, it's all on my Instagram, Dr. Boyce Finance. So I'm not going to bore you guys with that detail. And I would have invited everybody, but I couldn't because the ship only held 100 people. So that's why I couldn't just say, hey, all, and we're doing this thing. But one day maybe we will. All right, so let me move forward. All right, so hold on. Let me keep hitting the button. Here you go. So that's the picture of me and that's Dr. Alicia right there, looking beautiful, and Tiana Von Johnson's here. She's hosting the Miss Corporate America pageant in Orlando, and we're gonna go down that. And this is Miss New Jersey. I didn't meet her. I didn't get to talk to her much, but there she is. And there's more pictures, and that's me and Alicia coming in, and I'm just all happy because all my friends are there. And Dr. George C. Frazier is there.
I was at work.
An awesome guy. And I'll you can go to the page to see more. I'm not going to bore you with that. But here's something I wanted to share with you before we finish it. I thought this was kind of a cool way to end things. Let me know if you can hear it. I'm gonna play it right now. Here it goes.
Mama got 37 pairs of Jordans and 0 shares of Jordan stock. Explain that to me. Daddy said we ain't got investment money. Then he pulled up in a $70,000 car. Baby, that's the investment. Auntie spent $300 every 2 weeks on her hair. Her retirement account got $17. Everybody arguing about football. Ain't nobody discussing index funds. That's why the potato salad worth more than y'all portfolios. Every family reunion got a spades tournament. Where the family business tournament at? Grandma left recipes. Granddaddy left stories. Can somebody leave me some stock certificate? Y'all keep telling me money don't buy happiness. But poverty ain't exactly hilarious either.
Yeah, so that's my goofy little way of making the point. Yeah, I thought it was funny. I don't know which one was the funniest, but everybody got a spades tournament. Well, we have a family business tournament, and then it was like, they say money can't buy happiness, but poverty ain't exactly hilarious either. I thought that was funny. So anyway, if you guys like that kind of stuff, I'll create stuff every now and then. But anyway, so before I head out, let me share one more time. David, who's in the chat right now, if you want to do a consultation or a small group, or you want to do business with us on some level, maybe you want me to come speak, or you want to, we have curriculums that you can get for your church or your family or your homeschool network, whatever it is. Or if you want, I've met with families, just whatever it is that you would like for David to help you with. His number is 313-398-8420, 313-398-8420. Secondly, if you have any issues with the Black Business School, any questions at all about your membership, you can email our support team. They're always right there, ready to talk to you. Their email address is support@theblackbusinessschool.com. That's support@theblackbusinessschool.com. And also, Dr. Alicia is having a retreat, a wellness retreat. You know, Dr. Alicia, she is the co-head of our Black Financial Therapy Department. So if you want to come to the retreat and you have some healing you want to do, trauma levels are very high in our community, and trauma blocks us from achieving goals. It blocks you in terms of investing. It blocks us in terms of relationships. It blocks us in terms of mental health. And so she's having a healing retreat. It's going to be in Costa Rica. It's a beautiful resort. I think she has a couple more spots left. So if you want to connect with her, her website is draliciawatkins.com. That's draliciawatkins.com. And also, someone was asking, can you get into the Stock Market Investor Summit this weekend if you're a Prime member? Yeah, if you're a member of either the Stock Market Club or Prime, which is for stock options, drboyceprime.com, you can get in for free. And for those of you that don't want to join any group or anything like that, and you just want to pay the one-time fee to come to the summit this weekend, it's going to be online, so anybody can join. Bring your whole family. There's the link right there in the chat, and I'd love to see you. And and by the end of the weekend, you're not only going to just be comfortable with stock market investing, but I'll give you a little exam to make sure you internalize the information. Once you're done, you can get a certificate and you can put that on your wall and say you got that from the Black Business School. Okay. All right. So God bless you guys. Have a great day. Thank you so much for listening. And I look forward to seeing you again. And sorry about yesterday. Yesterday was yesterday, in case you, how many of y'all, did anybody come to the Zoom yesterday? If you tried to come to the Zoom yesterday, let me tell you what happened. So what had happened was, Zoom wouldn't let me in. I literally click, 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 click. Zoom would not let me in. So I sent out a text message to those. A lot of you got the text. If you're not on the text list, if you text the word morning to the number 87948, so text morning to 87948, I will I'll send you a text if that ever happens again. I don't know what was going on with Zoom. I thought it might be down or something like that. But literally, I couldn't get into Zoom. So I went to StreamYard, and we still met. And I sent out the text, but only those on the text list were notified. It wasn't because I don't love you all, it's just because I did the best that we could. So so text morning to 87948, and it won't be an issue. And also for those that want to link to Dr. Alicia's website, if you want to go on her retreat, or you want to set up an appointment with her, or you want to see some of her amazing products, here's her link. Her website is draliciawatkins.com. So God bless you guys. Have a great day. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I appreciate you so much, and I look forward to seeing you all soon. And those who are doing stock market investing, we'll be meeting in an hour for the Stock Market Club. If you want to join, go to drboycestockmarket.com. That's drboycestockmarket.com. Have a great day, everybody.